Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to The Invincibles, the best nerd podcast you will hear or watch from whichever platform you're watching or and streaming from. We're your co-hosts. I'm Zan. And today we're going to be talking about some really cool Star Wars stuff. Oli, take it away, man. Talk to him. What are we doing?
Today we're only talking about the best Star Wars content since 2005, okay. The Mandalorian. And by the way, if you're just listening to this, like just on the audio version, maybe check out YouTube or the video version on Spotify because we've got a little surprise for you.
2005. Okay, that's an interesting thing you said. 2005 since the best 2005. So that means you're not a big fan of the new Star Wars stuff, huh?
Well, I think it's not what I wanted from a sequel trilogy. Like, Mandalorian has given me what I wanted from what I envisioned would be in a sequel trilogy, especially in the new season with what we've seen in the New Republic. That's one thing that I was most looking forward to from a sequel trilogy was what is the Republic like after the fall of the Empire, and we didn't really get any of that in the sequel trilogy. So, going into specifically the most recent episode of The Mandalorian, we really got a good look at that. And I thought, I think this season so far has been pretty good. I think it started very strongly. But this past episode, I think, was brilliant. Like, it pulled in everything that made Rogue One and Andor so compelling. Like, this most recent episode just felt like an episode of Andor to me. But with things with the perspective a bit different, because we're seeing what life is like for people who were working for the Empire, who've been reformed under the New Republic, and sort of seeing how the New Republic maybe isn't so great because they're treating them obviously not treating them as bad as the Empire, but still they're not quite free. And even though Dr. Pershing, he's sort of the main character of the most recent episode, it's focusing on him for pretty much the whole thing. He wants to carry on his science, which he believes can benefit the New Republic, and he keeps telling them this is for the good of the New Republic. But then they're not allowing him to do it, and he gets. I don't really know the word for what happens to him at the end, but it's not very nice. I think it's some sort of. I think he calls it a mind flayer. Don't really know what that's the effect that's going to have on him, but it didn't look good.
So to piggyback real quick, because you said a lot about what you love about these new episodes is how the Empire and how the New Republic is really being explored and really fleshed out. So we saw at the end of the first episode, right, like with the Mythosaur, okay, and we're seeing a lot of this world building. Do you believe that the trajectory, the way season 3 is going, like specifically what I'm asking is, and you can cut out the other questions because I guess I was rambling, is what do you see in season 3 that is going to kind of bring back that energy and fervor into Star Wars that right now it doesn't have? Because especially the way the story is going, I feel like the story is very well thought out, especially with the way they're going with Din and Grogu and the Mandalorian culture and the New Republic and the Empire and the scientists. I feel like that's all very if you are already in the world and you love the world of Star Wars, that stuff is appealing to you. But I guess for a general audience, for the quote unquote soups aspect of the world, right? You need those cameos, you need those theories, you need those, that character shows up at the end. Do you feel like season 3 is going in that same direction currently with the episodes? Do you feel like we have to worry about that? Because I'm loving what we're getting so far, and I don't get that vibe.
No, I don't think we have to worry too much about that. It seems like this season's going to really focus on the Mandalorian culture, which after Clone Wars, which is, by the way, one of my favourite TV shows of all time, the animated show. After seeing the episodes about Mandalore from that show, so many people, including myself, became fascinated with the Mandalorians. I've watched hour-long Mandalorian history video essays on YouTube, like go about like the very beginning of the planet and the whole culture of the Mandalorians. So this is really, it looks like it's going to delve into the culture of that, what it means to be a Mandalorian, and sort of Din and Bo-Katan trying to rebuild Mandalore to make it as good as it once was. And as well as that, we've got this angle going on with Dr. Pershing in the New Republic, which I've got a few theories about that I'll bring up later. But for now, I'm very happy with how it's going in terms of like the story about the Mandalorians and the whole culture.
So, what do you think of the relationship so far of Din and Bo?
You might have to bleep this, but they need to. There is so much sexual tension between them two. But I think they're gonna end up ruling Mandalore together. I think maybe not as a couple, but maybe Bo defeats Din for the Darksaber, and she becomes sort of the ruler, and Din's like her. I don't know. I don't want to use the word enforcer because that that usually relate that to sort of an evil rule, but that basically that type of role for her. That's probably where I see their story. Maybe not at the end of the season, but that's where I see their story ending up. What was your question?
No, I said, what do you think of the? No. I
just went on the tangent.
With that. Like, I was asking about what you thought of Bo and Din together, but like you bring up a good point with the Mandalore aspect to it. Do you think, like, keep going with your point, but also alongside with that, just to throw onto there, do you think that it is possible that we do see a darker side of Bo-Katan? Because she did a lot of dark stuff, and the Clone Wars, Rebels, if I'm not mistaken. I didn't watch too much of Rebels. Okay, I heard they did really good by who's this, Thrawn. Yeah, Thrawn is fantastic. All right, I gotta check that out. But I was saying, do you think the way that Bo has approached the Darksaber and Mandalore so far, she's been very serious, and then the sexual tension kind of threw a wrench into things. Do you feel like they're trying to play the audience with the thought of maybe Din and Bo will be together? Because I still think, especially looking at Bo's history, looking at all they've lost, and look at all of Mandalore's lost, I think she might have feelings for him, but if she has to stick it to him, she will. You know what I mean? And versus Din might be more emotional, right? I mean, he freaking took off his helmet for Grogu. Like, I'm sure he would forsake some stuff for her if he felt strongly. Like, you get what I mean?
I do. I think with Bo, at the end of season 2, when Din defeats Gideon, Moff Gideon for the Darksaber, Bo, she doesn't react very well to that. And Din tries to just give it her, but she knows because of, the whole Mandalorian traditions that that's impossible. And Bo has literally lost everything in her life. She's lost everyone she's ever loved. Her sister was murdered. The whole planet was destroyed pretty much by the Empire. And then everyone who was following her, as we see in the new season, has abandoned her because she didn't win the Darksaber. And in the latest episode, her home has been destroyed. So she literally has nothing. So it wouldn't surprise me if we see them battle for the Darksaber at some point in this season. And after everything she's been through, the only thing that's been keeping her going, because she's lost all the people, is getting the Darksaber and becoming the rightful ruler of Mandalore. And she's only known Din for not only a few months, really, when you think about it. So, if she wants to regain the trust of all the people who've been following her, for all these years, she will need to defeat him. But maybe then looking at it from another angle, if there is something there, if they do end up developing feelings for each other, how will she, react to that? Will she let herself open up again? Because everyone has been taken from her. But I do think we will see a dark side of her. There's not been too many hints of it so far this season, but towards the end of last season, in the final episode, I thought, she's not happy. But we will see that dark side later on.
I really hope we see some flashbacks, also unrelated, but I hope we see some flashbacks of Darth Maul, and there's a legitimate reason for that because of his influence on Mandalore, I'm not asking for Anakin Skywalker on Mandalore or Ahsoka, but I think Darth Maul, especially with his connection to that culture and what he did, like taking over, I think that's kind of logical. They should have that, but I wouldn't bet on it.
I do have a feeling there might be a flashback because for a split second it was either one of the trailers or like a TV spot or something for the new season. There's a shot of of Mandalore like from the sky, and it looks like green and it's populated, it's civilized, there's ships flying about, and I think that could either be, say, a time jump to the future. Where a couple of years in the future, where they've sort of built Mandalore up again, because it didn't look exactly how it looked in Clone Wars. It looked a bit in Clone Wars. It was a bit more worn down than it looked in this split second shot.
Great cinematic shot, by the way.
So, yeah, it looked fantastic. But I think that if it's a flashback, that could be a flashback to. Maybe Bo-Katan as a child, or maybe even before that, looking at the proper history of Mandalore, which would be really interesting to see in live action, because that's not something we've never seen before, like ever really, in a show. And I can't remember what the question was.
No,
this going off on tangents, but I think there will be a flashback of some sort. Judging by that's what I'm leaning more towards it being, is that split second shot is a flashback, or Disney, as we've seen with Marvel, they are putting fake scenes in trailers. So.
Hey man, I mean, listen, I think so. Here's my hot take. I enjoyed what we've seen so far, but the story, while it's engaging, I feel like it was just a bad decision to have Grogu return in the Book of Boba Fett. I think it was a bad decision to not have Grogu's absence felt by the audience. I know there was a disparity online where people were saying it was a time jump. Grogu was with Luke Skywalker for a couple of years. I don't know if that's real or not, but I don't think that's true. We should have, at the end of season 2, we felt it. Grogu's left in. We felt that. But now it's it's a staple. The show's decision to keep them reunited at the beginning of season 3 felt like a safe option to me. And that, to me, isn't very Mandalorian, is it? So...
No. I think what they should have done is, Disney likes to stick to the same number of episodes each season for the Disney Plus shows, but you could just easily extend Mandalorian season 3 to 10 episodes and have those 2 episodes that are in the middle of Book of Boba Fett as the first 2 of this season of Mandalorian. That would, because they had, I think, until the end of the second episode that Mando was in, Boba Fett wasn't there.
Wasn't
so, they weren't Boba Fett episodes. They were Mandalorian 2.5.
Exactly.
That's what they were. So for fans as well who are more casual, who aren't Star Wars nerds like me, who thought, I'll just skip out on Book of Boba Fett, I'm not as bothered about him. They'll go from the end of season 2, where Luke Skywalker takes Grogu, to the beginning of season 3, where Grogu's back with Din, and they don't mention anything about how he got there. So for the casual viewer who will just watch Mandalorian, they're completely confused. They don't know what's happened. because not every fan
But
watches
I
every
think
show.
that's also kind of a state for like the entertainment business now is people write with the understanding that leaks and spoilers can cover some of their plot holes because people already come in to the movie, to the TV show, whatever, video game, in this case, TV show for Disney, with preconceived notions of what to expect. So they're already coming, you know what I mean? Like with their own, like they've already kind of seen it in their head. You know, it's not a movie experience anymore. It's more of like you expect certain events to happen in your continuity of events. And it's not really a film. It's not really a product. It's not really a TV show anymore. And I think that's like an issue, right? Is they, especially with Book of Boba Fett and with, I don't want to say Mandalorian. I don't want to accuse Mandalorian of having bad writing. I think it's been more of like it's feeling safe, but it's not bad by any means. I think like it's a lot of what is being written is with the expectation, especially with Grogu's decision or their decision to have Grogu with Mando at the beginning of season 3 when it was so huge to have them just stay apart at the end of season 2, completely undoing a whole season's worth of like why, you know what I mean? Like you've just
that was the whole point of the first
removing
two
the purpose of your show. I think then it's like, can we trust the showrunners to create long-lasting decisions, right? That's number one. Can they respect? Okay. And I think they can, but that's just a question to ponder when we're watching these events happen. Like, let's say Bo gets killed, or let's say the nice lady on Tatooine who fixes their ship with the curly hair. Like what if if she dies? Now there's a feeling of, well, they'll probably be back somehow, or they'll get a TV show somehow, or they'll get a scene. So it's like, even though they're gone, we don't really feel their missed presence. We only feel their missed presence in the continuity of the story. But it doesn't hit us here. You know what I mean? It doesn't hit you in the heart. And go on. No. And I'm saying and that is something that I want to feel in season 3. I want those stakes back. So I think that's number one. I think that's the writing. There's not a lot of like stakes. Hot take in my opinion, but it's just starting out. Everybody, please don't flame me in the comments, okay? All right. Oli is a huge Star Wars guy. Bro, you have the lightsaber. You gotta show him that real quick. Show him that. Show him the lightsaber. Look at that.
Change the color.
Let's go with let's go with purple. Let's go with purple.
Okay. Is that changing? Yeah,
oh yes. Oh hell yes. I love that. So I say that to say he's a huge Star Wars fan. So don't kill me. He's here. He's got my back. Okay. But I just think that personally, the decision to keep them together just kind of undercuts my hype for season 3. I guess is what I'm saying.
I think you can rectify that and make that decision the correct one with having Grogu become like a Mandalorian. Maybe with him getting his own helmet possibly at some point this season. I think that would be pretty cool. Or even, say, Bo-Katan does challenge Din for the Darksaber. She defeats him. Din's all beaten up. Grogu comes in, does some stuff with the Force, defeats Bo-Katan, and Grogu holds a lightsaber. Maybe that's just, off the top of my head, but I think that'd be pretty cool, actually, thinking about it.
Yes.
But something like that where Grogu decides he is becoming a Mandalorian instead of a Jedi, or maybe he has a bit of both. I think that because they have they reunited them so quickly, I think that is the way to go with it. If you're going to prove that this decision is the correct one, I think that's what you need to do. You need to have him embrace, because Grogu literally chose being with the Mandalorian over being with Luke Skywalker. So he chose the Mandalorian way over the Jedi way. So he needs to really embrace the fact that he is now a Mandalorian, I think. And if they do that, yeah.
I mean, in the last episode, I feel like he tried to say this is the way. Right? Like,
imagine if Aries first word.
That out, that would be cool. But would you have Grogu talk like Yoda, or would you have Grogu talk like a normal 6-year-old kid or something?
There was Yaddle or Yadel, who was like the only other one of that species we've seen besides Yoda and Grogu. She was in the background of the Phantom Menace in the Jedi Council, and she appeared in, I think it was, what's the name of it? Like the Clone Wars spin-off show they did, like the one that just came out,
Bad
Star
Batch?
Wars something. No, the other one was like a mini-series type thing. I can't remember the name of it. Tales of the Jedi, that's what it was. And I think she was. She's been in either that or Bad Batch anyway, and I can't remember. I don't think she talked like Yoda. I think she talked normally. I might be wrong on that, but I think it'd be funny if Yoda did just talk like that because he's a bit of a weirdo. You know what I mean? So I think it'd be cool to have Grogu just speak normally, and then it'd just be a funny thing that Yoda just spoke that way because he was a bit old and mad.
I like that, and that's a way to keep the character of Yoda distinct.
Yeah, I think as well. I've got a theory that when Mandalorian season 2 was coming out, I was writing like reviews of each episode and posting them online, and I had a theory that Yoda is the father of Grogu, and Yaddle or Yadel, I pronounce it Yaddle, is the mother. So because they're the only two of that species we've ever seen, and they were in the Jedi Temple at the time Grogu would have been born, they're the parents, surely. Yoda is
Yoda clapping alien cheeks in the Jedi Council? Like, was he?
He was. Oh, he was the Grand Master. He can do what he wants.
Oh no! Somebody get the Jedi Order HR on this. Somebody get Jedi Order Human Resources on this. Like, we got workplace harassment. Yoda, that is not cool. No. Yeah,
Yoda's getting cancelled.
By the way, we are simply messing around. We are not by any means poking fun at real events. We just have to say that because I know somebody's going to listen to this and make it something that it's not. We're just messing around having fun. So,
yeah, it's not real. It's just little green aliens that don't exist.
Just got to get that out there. But no, I think that's fair. I think also what's possible is that they never really talk about his origins. Like, and maybe they talk about like his origins in terms of like how he is important to the overall story, which they already kind of have done that. But in terms of like who his mom and dad are, his family genealogy, the planet he was born, like that's what I'm talking about. Like, I don't think they might not show that, and I don't think they need to. And I have a theory for that later on in the episode. I have a theory for why, but I think what is likely also is he's created through midichlorians. Like, I know that he was there. I know that he was there by... it's a terrible theory. I'm throwing that out there. It's not a great theory, but I just have to say it. So I think, personally, that Emperor Palpatine was always stronger than Yoda. I think, this is just my hot take, I think there is a level of the fact that the Jedi are kidding themselves when they say, oh, the dark side isn't as strong as light. I think they're kidding themselves. The dark side's stronger. Like, if you take steroids, you're going to be a stronger fighter. Like, the dark side is definitely stronger. But what is more sustainable long-term? That's the question. And I think if we're pure power, I don't ever see a situation of Yoda beating Palpatine at the height of their powers. I just don't see it. So, but if you are Plagueis, if you're Darth Plagueis, and the Sith, for lack of a better term, they're Everton, and the Jedi are Liverpool. The Sith haven't done anything, and fantastic book, by the way, fantastic book. But the Sith haven't done anything, right? They haven't done anything in 400 years before Anakin Skywalker, correct? So, if you're Darth Plagueis, and you're all about scheming and life and creating force of life, wouldn't you try to emulate the most powerful Jedi and corrupt them?
Really,
and that would
like
be
that
Yoda.
idea.
So what if?
I do like
and
that.
here's why: because Darth Plagueis probably wouldn't know anything about the Yoda species, right? Probably wouldn't know how they age, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what if he creates this, species, whatever alien? We'll call them green, like green little elves. Like, okay, he creates a green little elf, and it's a baby for like 4 years. Plagueis is like, okay, screw this, I'm gonna try to kill it. Finds out he can't through some way of the Force. The Force is probably saying, no, you created it, so we're fighting back. So Plagueis is like, okay, well, I just created something completely defective and useless and doesn't do anything. So he just kind of throws it out there, and then over time, he's just kind of taken in kindness of strangers, finds his way to the Jedi Academy. It's a terrible theory, doesn't work too well, but I do think it's cool to think of the concept of who is the most powerful Jedi in the council at the time. Master Yoda, we're going to try to clone him, doesn't work. Who's the second most powerful? A human, Mace Windu, we're going to try Anakin Skywalker. I think in my head canon it fits. That's my theory for Grogu.
So do you think that happened and then he realized after he got rid of Grogu? Is that when? Because there is a theory that Plagueis, he created Anakin. But so do you think that happened and he thought, throw away Grogu, and that's why he creates
probably
Anakin?
Because he was like, okay, this species is a terrible viable host for this artificial life, so we're going to try humans. And
yeah, okay. No, I can see that.
Maybe that could probably inform Grogu's decision more to why he's probably done with the Jedi, because he's like, bro, I'm tired of being the pawn of the Jedi all the time. I was locked up because of the Jedi-Sith war until my dad, who's a Mandalorian, locked me out of that life and gave me a fun childhood. And I enjoyed those times of my life when I was in that Mandalorian influence. Now I have to deal with the Force, and it messes everything up again, and I don't enjoy it that much. So I'm going to become a Mandalorian. Like, I could totally see that. Yeah.
I do just want him to embrace the Mandalorian culture. I think hopefully we see that.
I hope so too, and I really hope they don't go with the I don't want them to make it too obvious if Grogu uses the Force to save Din in like a climactic way. Like, I don't want Bo-Katan with the dark saber and she's about to cut his head off, and then you see the Force and Grogu takes it from her and just complete copies Luke Skywalker and Rey. I want whatever they do, I want it to be fresh, and I want it to feel inspired, especially with how they did Andor, if that makes sense.
I think that's been what's so good about Mandalorian as a whole, is the story hasn't really copied anything from what's happened before in Star Wars, which was a big problem with even though Force Awakens is a great film, it wasn't original enough. So that's what the fact that Mandalorian has done that in each season. It's been fresh. Has been one of the reasons why it's been so successful, I think. I do have a theory about this. This is going off on a bit of a tangent. I do have a bit of a theory of how Mandalorian does link to the sequels.
Let's talk about it. It's the perfect segue. Let's talk about it.
So in the last season, I haven't rewatched season 2 since in about 2 years now. So there's an episode where they're in sort of a cloning sort of facility, which they blow up and they escape from, and they're trying to get Grogu, trying to capture Grogu, take his blood so they can use his Force sensitivity to make whatever clone they're producing in all these tanks super powerful. I think that project is how General Snoke, or Supreme Leader Snoke, was created, because I think Snoke is like a failed clone of Palpatine, possibly, because in the old expanded universe, which is now Legends, it's not canon anymore, Palpatine had shit tons of clones, So I think that might be something that, that they're going to delve into a bit here. So Dr. Pershing, who is in the most recent episode, he wants to carry on his work of cloning. So I think somehow, maybe not because his brain got absolutely frazzled at the end of that episode, but I think somehow that work's going to be continued, and we might see the beginning of how Snoke was created, maybe the beginnings of the First Order. Obviously, that won't be the main storyline, but I think we'll see that at some point down the line because of that bit from season 2, which people seem to have forgotten about. But that's a theory of mine that I've had for the past 2 years now, and yeah, that's what I think we're going to see at some point, and maybe not this season, but maybe Mandalorian season 4 will sort of go into that a bit.
Well, I would definitely cash that check. I definitely believe that. I think it's definitely likely. But also keep in mind, Palpatine said, "I created Snoke," so those scientists, all the developers of those clones, they're probably working under direct orders from Palpatine. So that's a way, if they tie that in, that's an organic, seamless way that makes sense also. But you also talked about the sequels and Snoke, right? And it's the perfect segue, because while we love The Mandalorian and we love everything that's happening over there with the fresh original storytelling, nothing feels, while I feel like it's safe, nothing feels contrived. Nothing feels like it's, you're just making something and slapping something together and calling it a day. We can't say the same for the sequel trilogy. We can't say the same. So
nope.
here's how I feel about it, bro, and I would love your perspective. When we talk about the discourse of Star Wars, it's very toxic and it's also very emotional. So you have one side of people, and I'm not trying to, be toxic myself and throw names, but we have some content creators who make their brand about how much the sequels fail George Lucas, which gets annoying at a point.
I will say.
I didn't want to say it, but all right. But yeah, Star Wars Theory does that all the time, bro. He does that all the time. And I get it. The sad thing is, I agree with 90% of his perspectives about the sequel theory, with the sequel trilogy. It's just at a point, you got to move on, but you have some people who do that, who can constantly use that negativity of the sequels didn't do this, so they will perpetuate negativity to other Star Wars projects when it's not fair or warranted. For example, Star Wars Visions, in my opinion, is the best Star Wars media that I have ever seen. That's a hot take, but I love that. I love the anime Star Wars. Give me more of that. That is awesome. That to me was fresh. That is something that I could, consume on a daily basis. Give me more of that. I think when you look at the sequel trilogies, though, you don't get that feeling. You don't get that feeling.
No.
So break down, bro, because you live and breathe Star Wars. I want, take all the time you need. You know Star Wars, you know the character arcs, you know the expanded universe, you know all of that stuff in depth. As well as being somebody who's objective about film, who knows writing, who knows character structure, who knows plot points. So you have the nerdiness of the Star Wars, but you have the objectivity of good writing, right? Break down why the sequels failed us.
Well, how long have we got? I think, in my opinion, it was doomed from the start because they didn't have a clear plan for the whole trilogy from the beginning. They were still writing Rise of Skywalker as they were filming it. They didn't know anything about Rey's backstory still during the filming of Rise of Skywalker. They didn't decide she was going to be a Palpatine until halfway through filming, according to Daisy Ridley herself. And I think if you're going to do a trilogy that has an overarching story throughout all 3 films, first you've got to get the same director on board for all 3. I think that's one of the big problems they had. And then you've got to have, as I said, you've got to have a clear story set out for the whole thing. And J.J. Abrams, I don't really rate him that highly. I don't think he was the right choice. I think Rian Johnson, had you given him the full trilogy, would have been successful, because I don't really rate The Last Jedi. I don't think it's that great, but maybe if Force Awakens had sort of led into it better, Rian Johnson had done Force Awakens, maybe people would view The Last Jedi a bit differently. So I think it's just, Disney just wanted to rush a Star Wars trilogy out there as soon as he got the rights. The Force Awakens came out, I think it was less than 3 years after Disney purchased Lucasfilm. So they just wanted to rush out a trilogy, make money off the Star Wars IP, I think, which is why they didn't put as much time and effort into actually making it a good story, which is probably the core reason as to why it failed. And then I think they should have made Finn a Jedi. I think that should have happened, because in every single trailer leading up to Force Awakens, you're like, oh, he's going to be a Jedi, and then he just isn't, and his story just goes down. And they didn't have the balls to stick to any of the story decisions that they did make. So in Force Awakens, you hear about the Knights of Ren. At the end, you hear Snoke say, "Oh, call up the Knights of Ren. I want them to, come here, get Kylo and all that stuff." And then you don't see them in The Last Jedi. So that's partly because maybe people didn't react to Force Awakens as well as they hoped. So they thought, oh, we have to change this a bit. And because they had a completely different guy directing the second film. If you set up stuff in the first film, hire the same guy for the second film, so the story makes sense. That's probably one of the reasons why I think it failed. But also, I don't know if I speak for all Star Wars fans here, but as I said earlier on, it just wasn't what I wanted from a sequel trilogy. So what was the point of Luke defeating the Empire if there's just Empire 2.0 30 years later? It kind of makes the whole plot of the original trilogy a bit futile, I think, because he defeated the Empire. Darth Vader's Anakin Skywalker's whole redemption ends up being a bit pointless, because they just come back 3 decades later, and we don't see any of the New Republic. The only glimpse we get of the New Republic is in Force Awakens on Hosnian Prime, when Starkiller Base is first used, and it destroys the whole Hosnian system. That's that's very nerdy specific right there. But you see it for a split second. Force Awakens had a whole storyline that the woman who you see look at the laser as it's coming to destroy that planet, and in that scene, she had a whole storyline in that film with Leia cut out.
Are you serious?
Leia, Carrie Fisher, had a whole storyline in Force Awakens where she goes to the New Republic, goes to the Senate, tries to get help to fight against the First Order from the New Republic, because it's just what's it even called? It's not called the Rebellion, is it? It's the Resistance.
It's a terrible name. Yeah,
lazy, so lazy, and. Yeah, but then they, refused to help her, something like that. That's what it was going to be. And this woman was going to be a big part of that. And then, it just gets all cut out. I think Disney just wanted to rehash the old trilogy a bit. Just sort of, it's like Force Awakens is so similar to A New Hope. In terms of, they destroy a big planet-shaped, space station at the end. And stuff like that, and sort of the old man who's teaching the young people dies, at the hands of a lightsaber from someone who his son or his, someone in his family, just like Obi-Wan was killed by Darth Vader. So it was too similar to that, and it just wasn't original and fresh, and the story itself, the story that they did choose, was executed poorly on top of that. So there's so many reasons it didn't work. But I've probably absolutely rambled there, but that's my thoughts.
Well, I agree with everything you said. What the one thing I agree with Star Wars theory is when he said when you have a property like Star Wars, you do treat it with reverence. You do treat it with respect. There should be an element of this is Star Wars. Okay, we really got to get it right. You never got that feeling in the sequels.
Yeah.
I also agree with 100% why they decided to have have originally want 3 different directors to direct the saga with the same characters. Like, it works for TV show, different episodes. You need different directors. I get that, but not for film. That's a terrible decision. And it tonally, I guess it can kind of work. Like Rian Johnson can write drama better than J.J. Abrams, sure. But then why did the drama in The Last Jedi flop? Like, I think, and that's like another question I have for you. So we talked about The Force Awakens where it failed. I will say though, Kylo Ren carried the absolute hell out of that movie. Adam Driver is the star of those sagas. Yeah. Bro. Like he is Steven Gerrard to Liverpool. He is LeBron James to Cleveland. Like I'm serious, bro. He is Cristiano Ronaldo on that god awful Arabic team he's on. Like, like he
Another thing about Kylo is he should have survived at the end of Rise of Skywalker. This might be my biggest gripe with the whole sequel trilogy. So it's called The Rise of Skywalker, and okay, Rey adopts the Skywalker name, but she's by blood she is a Palpatine. So at the end of Rise of Skywalker, there is no Skywalkers left, but there's still a Palpatine. So Palpatine won. His bloodline outlasted the Skywalker bloodline. So at the end of the whole thing, Palpatine ends up on top.
But does he get that satisfaction?
He doesn't, but he doesn't care though, does he? He knows, the Skywalkers died, so he doesn't need to know as long as like
his mission was
Ben. Yeah. His mission was to wipe them out, and he did. So yeah, and I think they should have. I think they should have had. Even though I thought Daisy Ridley was fantastic and Rey was fantastic, despite she did the best with what very poor decisions they made. I think she should have been the one to die at the end. Also, I think it was such a shit decision making her a Palpatine in the first place.
I agree. Do you think with the sequels and with Rey, with Disney not having a plan, not really understanding, do you think then that the fan discourse about how much they do not like the sequels, do you think that's fair? When you look at The Force Awakens, for me, so I enjoyed The Force Awakens. I thought it was a good time. Admittedly, when I watched the prequels as a kid, I did not like them. I thought they were terribly written. I thought the dialogue was terrible. I thought CGI was hard to look at times. I really enjoyed Revenge of the Sith, though. I thought that was the movie I loved, but I could care less about 1 and 2. I care more about the lore behind it, but as films, I could care less. But 3 was fantastic. Yeah. And
I think Revenge of the Sith is the best
over Rogue One. Okay.
Yeah.
If I had to rank them, let's see.
We're doing a ranking now.
Let's just do it. Yeah,
let's do a ranking. Go on.
If we're going worst, I'll go worst to best. I do not like Solo. I would put that as the bottom.
Okay.
Next, I would put Attack of the Clones. I truly did not like that film. Then I would put Rise of Skywalker. I thought everything about that film was terrible.
Okay.
It was bad. It was not good. So okay. Then I would put. I'm trying to think. Next, I would put. I'd put Phantom Menace.
Okay.
After Phantom Menace, I would put. I would put Star Wars, the original. Yeah.
Oh, really?
I enjoy it, and I just think it's dated, so it just doesn't compare.
Yeah, yeah, that's fair.
Okay. Now, I will put The Force Awakens, or no, excuse me, I will put The Last Jedi next on that list. Then I would put The Force Awakens. Then I would put Return of the Jedi.
Okay.
Revenge of the Sith. Empire Strikes Back. Rogue One. So Rogue One's my number one. And
Revenge of Sith you put number 3.
So did I get all of them? I'm trying to think. Did I get all of them?
I'm pretty sure you got.
Okay.
I think you got all of them. So we have the same top 3, but just with Rogue One and Revenge of the Sith.
Okay.
Swap round. I've got my letterbox.
Okay, let's read it out. Let's read it.
So I've got a list. I've got a list of them here. So bottom, I've got Rise of Skywalker. So 11th place, Rise of Skywalker. 10th place, Last Jedi. 9th, Solo. 8, Force Awakens. 7, Phantom Menace. I'd absolutely love the lightsaber battle at the end of Phantom Menace. Top 2 lightsaber battles in all Star Wars. 6, Attack of the Clones. I don't mind it too much because when I was a kid, that was the only Star Wars film that we owned for a good few years. Like when I first was able to like fully sit down and watch a film, that was the only Star Wars film we owned for a good few years. So I just watched that over and over and over again. So I've got a bit of nostalgia for that one. That's probably why it's so high. Number 5, Return of the Jedi. Number 4, Star Wars, A New Hope. Number 3, Rogue One. Number 2, Empire Strikes Back. Number 1, Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, it's very identical, bro. It's very identical.
Yeah, very, very similar.
What did you... So, isn't it kind of telling, then, that the sequel movies, outside of Rogue One, are always at the mid-bottom of everybody's list? So again, that's my question, right? It's like, is the hate for the sequels warranted? Is it fair?
I think people have definitely got a right to be massively dissatisfied with them. I wouldn't say the hate on them is justified because some people have gone way too far with it. But I think fans do have a right to be dissatisfied with them because of how long people waited for that. People have been waiting for decades, literally like 40 years, to see what happened to these characters after the events of the original trilogy. And I feel sorry for those fans because they've waited longer than I've been alive for this, and they were let down by it. And the fact you could tell Disney just wanted to rush the films out, make a lot of money off the Star Wars IP. I think they deserve. I wouldn't. Yeah, I feel bad saying that the hate was deserved. I don't know if I'd use language.
I think
that
the way
strong.
you phrased it was perfect. When you said they have the right to be massively dissatisfied, like, I agree with that. Because imagine somebody as a kid, they see Luke Skywalker and then they watch the Last Jedi.
Yeah. See, maybe Luke's character arc in Last Jedi could have been justified had we seen more of him, or just seen him anyway in The Force Awakens, and we'd seen more of what happened to him to make him like that. We just get a few little flashbacks that are told from different perspectives. We don't ever see what actually happened to him. If we had, then that might have been, that might have been good. But I just think they didn't set it properly.
I agree, and I think the show, the Last Jedi, focused on the wrong stuff. I love animals. We all love animals, but I'm not watching a Star Wars movie for freaking animal rights stuff. I want to see lightsabers. I want to see Jedi. I want to see the Force. I don't care about alien animals. So when they're on Canto Bight, right, Rose and Finn, and they're talking about animals and they're giving 5 minutes of screen time talking about animals in a Star Wars film, I'm a little irritated when that time could have been used to focus more on Kylo and Luke and why Kylo hates Luke. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I think you have to feel that. It could have been done like this, right? Like, what if Kylo was just a weirdo? Not like a weirdo, like he likes like a movie, or he's a fan of something. Not that type of weirdo, but like he asks questions like, so when can you choke people with the Force? Like, that's what I'm talking. Like, you know what I mean? Or something like that. Or he's like, he's like,
yeah.
I always think about how accurate my headshots would be to like Han Solo or something. And he's trying to be friendly and warm to his parents and family, but they're like, hey, his grandfather was Darth Vader, and he's saying a lot of Vader-esque stuff, like maybe we need to keep an eye on him. And so then he kind of becomes a little ostracized, a little awkward. If they kind of showed why Luke had a reason to pull a lightsaber on Kylo, you know what I mean? Like, that would have been justified. And I think, like, for example, when they had Luke, I think maybe I'm thinking too deep into it, but because I come from an autism background, to take a lightsaber out of your pocket, hold it in your hand, look at Kylo Ren, turn it on, look at the blade again, and then look down on Kylo Ren. That is like 7-8 steps. That is 7-8 moments of cognition in your head about, I'm about to actually contemplate killing my nephew. So essentially, Luke had to have felt strongly about that. Like I know people said, oh, well, it's impulsive. It's in his character arc. Bro, then his character arc is the same as Peter Parker and Marvel Comics, okay? He doesn't grow. He is the same person from when he was young to when he's old. Like, the same, that's the logic that they're using. I don't buy that. I'm sorry. So when you look at Luke Skywalker, he had to have, like I said, strongly felt like this has to happen. And then at the end, he kind of bitched out and was like, oh, no, like, that's my family, blah, blah, blah. And they wrote a cliche way to stop it. But they should have gone 100% with that. They should have given Luke a legitimate reason to turn that lightsaber on. And for us, the audience, to go like, we don't agree with it, but we understand. Whatever that is. Whatever that is. Like, we don't have enough time for that. But whatever that is, they should have given us a reason for us to actually kind of be like, yeah, like, I get it, Like, do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I completely understand that, because it was such lazy writing to just be like, oh, I had, a sense in the Force that, it's just so lazy. And then, the multiple different flashbacks. I'm not a big fan of that. And maybe, if we see more of Luke in upcoming Disney Plus shows, that can sort of justify it, but you shouldn't need to do that, 6 to 10 years down the line. They dropped the ball massively by not showing why Luke is feeling like that. They could have done that in Force Awakens.
I think, I get kind of the message they were going with in The Last Jedi is don't meet your heroes. But why didn't they apply that? Why did they focus that on Rey and Luke and not on Kylo Ren and Darth Vader?
Yeah, that makes so much more sense.
Why didn't we get a scene of Kylo and Mustafar, and he sees Anakin wipe out all those kids, and, through a holocron, and maybe it's Vader proudly showing that, Anakin Skywalker was weak, so I had to do, and Kylo's like, whoa, 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 I thought my grandfather was cool, but not that. Whoa, that's different. I killed my dad because I was mad at him, but this is different.
Yeah, is Kylo Ren just Dominic Mysterio in Star Wars? He's just going through his emo phase.
Really the vibe, though. And Adam Driver is such a good actor that he makes it magnetizing. He makes it electric. And
oh yeah,
and that's my issue, right? Kylo Ren had the opportunity to use WWE terms, like, or wrestling terms, put over, right? Like, he had the opportunity to earn that. Like, what if Kylo Ren was not abnormally strong in the Force because he was born like as that, but what if it's because he's just a weirdo, like in the corner when no one's looking, he's practicing Force chokes on like rodents or something? No, like, I'm being serious, like, truly, like, cover that aspect, because I feel like as a media, as culture on this planet, we come up with reasons as to why people are evil and stuff like that. And I feel like sometimes that discourse can become unhealthy. For example, when you look at Jeffrey Dahmer, right? You can make a special like they did on, like, to be fair, on the Netflix special, they didn't try to explain why he was the way he was. They were just very inhumane in how they showed the victims, which is horrible. But I think the brilliance of that whole message of what the show was trying to do was, and again, they should have talked to the families, but I like the fact that they were showing that some people you can't save. Some people that is just, they are just out the womb. That is just who they are. And you have to come to terms with this challenge life has put across from the table from you, And imagine Luke Skywalker and Han Solo and Princess Leia. They did the impossible. They beat Palpatine. They beat Vader. Everybody in the galaxy and in the universe is scared of Luke Skywalker if they're in the dark side, like how the Moff Gideon was in the end of season 2 of The Mandalorian, because to them, Luke Skywalker pulled up to the Death Star, killed both of them, blew it up, and walked out.
Blew it up for the second time.
That is their version of Luke Skywalker. They're scared, terrified of him, Like, yeah. So when you look at all of that, how you could have done it is imagine Luke Skywalker being the man. He is the man, for lack of better terms. Han Solo is the man. Princess Leia is the woman. Like, they are running stuff. They run the galaxy. They beat all of this stuff. And they can't figure out their weirdo little family son/nephew. Like, imagine Luke Skywalker, where he's at a point where hubris could affect him. He could be like, I beat Palpatine. I defeated him. And I can't figure out why my nephew doesn't want to be like, what? Like, I'm Luke Skywalker. I can figure this out. What? That would be so much more of a better way to take it than what they showed. And I didn't. And
for sure.
What if it was a situation where Kylo Ren or, Ben Solo, he's doing dueling on another, Padawan of Luke Skywalker's, okay? And Kylo actually does a Vader move that Vader did on Luke in Empire Strikes Back and cuts off the hand, and they make it a throwback. And without using dialogue, this is important, without using dialogue, without using some explanatory reason as to why this shows Kylo is his, grandson, you just use visuals. Use visuals and cinematography to show that history is repeating itself without a character saying history is repeating itself. You see what I mean?
Yeah. It's show, not tell, isn't it? Like, I hate it when films tell you things rather than showing you things. I mentioned that when we talked about Quantum Mania, how that did it really poorly. But yeah, it's film. It's a visual experience. You should be showing you these things. It's visual, the mode of storytelling. So yeah, that would have been absolutely perfect.
Yeah, maybe he cuts off a hand, and he's not really thinking, but he's just kind of staring. So there's like a situation of will he, and then Luke shows up, gets his lightsaber, stops it, but then Kylo's perspective is like, you just tried to kill me. But Luke's like, no, you idiot, you cut off his hand. Like, what? Like, stop. Then Kylo gets mad, and then Luke and Kylo have a duel. Mirror Anakin Obi-Wan, but Luke is going easy. You can clearly tell he's going easy versus Kylo's trying really hard. And then at a point, Luke is like, all right, screw this. And then he defeats someone, and then Kylo gets mad and in his feelings and runs away. That's a terrible, like a badly explained way of how I would do it. But how you can make that go full circle, talking about how you can put Kylo Ren over, right, over Luke, is when they duel mano a mano, one-on-one, light side Luke Skywalker versus I just killed Snoke, height of my powers Kylo Ren. they duel on Crate, and Kylo kills him fair and square. That's the way to do it.
Yeah. That would have been
like,
the
you
way
know,
for
like
him
think
to
about
go.
it. Like Luke, you know, as the audience, maybe make it like Killmonger and T'Challa, you know, like and on the waterfall where you're like, you know, as the audience, you're like, okay, well, obviously he's not going to die. It's Black Panther, but like you're like, I don't want him to get hurt that bad. Like, geez, like evoke that emotion.
Yeah.
Like maybe Kylo is like, hey, where's your father, huh? Where's your father? Where's Anakin Skywalker? And like Luke is like he's looking out into the Force, and there actually isn't anybody there. And the audience is like, and the audience, and then Kylo could be like, where's grandfather? Where's Anakin Skywalker, uncle? And he's like throwing him around. And like, he's like, where's the light side of the Force? Where's everybody? And like Luke is maybe trying to stop him, and he can't. And maybe that's the point as the audience where you're like, oh my God, like Luke, get up, Luke, get up, like stop, like, and then Kylo kills him, and just end the movie there.
Yeah.
Like Kylo Ren kills Luke Skywalker, it's over, and then you have a time jump of like whatever you want for the third. That's how I would do it.
That would have been such. I think that would have been a better way to do it, because the whole story that you just described from start to finish it makes you understand Kylo Ren so much more, other than him just being a whiny teenager who wants to be like his granddad who he never met.
Make it like Tai Lung,
yeah.
you know, from Kung Fu Panda. Have you seen Kung Fu Panda? Bro, rewatch the dialogue of Tai Lung versus Master Shifu. Like that's some pretty deep dialogue where like Tai Lung is saying like, you know, I sacrificed broken bones, endless nights. You took my destiny. Like, what if Kylo's like that? What if he actually never wanted to be a Jedi or in the Force? And Luke is like, I can't risk, you know, anybody turning him, so I'm just gonna do it, and taking Kylo's autonomy from him.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many original ways, bro. And they go with the most generic Walmart brand option.
Yeah, it's so disappointing. There's so many possibilities, so much potential for it, and they just let everyone go.
You know, we got a few minutes before the end of the show. Bro, you love Star Wars, you love the sequels. Pitch us the next sequel trilogy. So the sequel trilogy. Floor is yours.
I think you've got to completely abandon this era of Star Wars now. I think the whole Skywalker thing, Palpatine's, this whole timeline has got to be left in the past. Let the past die, as Kylo Ren says. I think the next trilogy I want to see has got to go so far away in terms of time. I want to see an Old Republic trilogy at some point. I want to see the Old Republic on the big screen. I want to see... they've been doing a lot of High Republic stuff, you know, sort of a couple hundred years before Phantom Menace, with a few books and a few comics. I've read a few of the comics there. It's pretty interesting. It's literally the Republic at its absolute peak. The Sith, are not there, and it's a really interesting time period. So because they've put so much effort into the world building of that, I could see them doing a High Republic trilogy. But because of the Knights of the Old Republic game, I want the next trilogies to be.
Would you have those events connect in any way to the George Lucas verse, for lack of a better term?
No. I want them to do the whole Darth Revan or Darth Revan. I want them to do that whole thing, because he has got such an interesting, such a compelling story, and the majority of like mainstream audiences don't have a clue who he is, and he's one of the best characters in the entirety of Star Wars. So the next trilogy, I think, should be Old Republic and sort of linked to.
I mean, if we can get some Darth Revan brutal action with the Force, that would be insane. And they can also really play with the Force abilities, right? Less Jedi and Sith back then, so more or no, there would be more Jedi and Sith back then. So Revan would really have to be extraordinarily powerful to kind of make up for that Force disparity. But I would love that. Would you make that? You said that would be a whole trilogy, or that would just be one Darth Revan movie? Okay, okay, cool.
I think you should do that as a trilogy, and then you could maybe have a Disney Plus show, sort of filling in the gaps, to in that sort of time period. Maybe just do a whole, maybe do 2 trilogies about that time period. I just really want so much content about that time period, because we just haven't had any really besides the games. So, and the remake of the game might not even be coming out. So.
Well, hopefully, I play as Revan as a mod in Battlefront 2, so that's my fix for it. But how I would make like a sequel trilogy, honestly, bro, I would focus on like the sequel characters, but I would kind of dissociate from the prequel era and the original trilogy era. So the Yuzan Vong would be the main villains, and this new saga, they've invaded the galaxy. And you open the saga by the Yuzan Vong absolutely massacring a really powerful Sith. It's like some dark side user with the lightsaber gets absolutely manhandled. Maybe tries lightning, tries to choke him, and the Yuzan Vong just rip through him because they're impervious to Force. Nothing works on them. So then you have like some of the Jedi go like, well, whoever these guys are, they're making our life a lot easier. Palpatine kind of messed everything up so in universe, you are explaining that stuff has gotten worse. So the Yuzan Vong are kind of cleaning it up. Yeah. And so, maybe Rey, Finn is a Jedi in this case, the Force ghosts of Luke and everybody, they're like, well, we know nothing about them. They seem to love killing Sith though. So good. Keep it up, And then the Yuzan Vong get to Coruscant and wipe everybody out. And the Yuzan Vong is like, we don't discriminate. We want to murder everybody. And so we'll take over everybody. And so they wiped out the Sith because the Sith just happened to be on the outer region territories. Now they're inner, and now they're taking everybody out there too. So now I have a situation where dark side users and light side users are kind of forced to work together in this saga. And Rey is going to be the catalyst for that, being a Palpatine that owned the name Skywalker. So you have an in-universe way to address a lot of the writing flaws of the previous, and it flows, in my humble opinion. You focus on the Death Star. Maybe the Yuzan Vong are too powerful, and they can't be defeated in the universe. And their planet, the only weapon that can reach their planet and destroy it, are the old remnants of the Death Star. And so Rey has to honorably discharge and expunge the records of all of those dark scientists and all those Sith that worked on the Death Star and used those lightsaber crystals to take them out. And you end the second movie with that, where they try to use the Death Star to blow up their planet, the Yuzan Vong, because they're too powerful, and they fail. The laser just passes right through their planet. They're impervious to the Force. It does nothing. And so the Yuzan Vong are like, that's an act of war. Like, we were already taking you over, but you guys were easy. Now we're treating you like you're a problem. Yeah. And so you end with absolutely everything in the universe is destroyed. And so literally the Star Wars universe is like barren. Like, there's not a lot of hope. So then Star Wars 12 is we hear you and we're sorry to all the fans. You bring back everybody. No, you bring back everybody. Because here's how you could describe the universe. Yuzan Vong's existence and their ability with the Force and their ability to destroy the Force and just it doesn't do anything to them is a violation against nature. So now the Force is fighting back, and the Force is breaking its own rules to balance it. So what do they do?
Okay.
So Palpatine is back from the Force in the flesh. Plagueis is back. Snoke is back. This would be old Anakin Skywalker would be back. Mace Windu would be back. Kylo Ren would be back. New characters that they built in the trilogy will be back. Prequel trilogy. All of them emerge from the Force, and now the Yuzan Vong are like, that does absolutely nothing. We don't care. Whatever. Then maybe somehow through the Force, they take the fight to their planet where they can be affected. And now the Yuzan Vong are like, uh-oh. Oh, crap. Okay, wait. We were just kidding. And then the Jedi clear house, the Sith clear house. But because the Jedi are so emotionally invested, their anger starts to come out.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have a bit, at the end of the saga, you have a bit of hints of, is the dark side going to come back? Or is our understanding of the dark side limited? Like, maybe you have Sith who are on the light side. Maybe you have Jedi who practice dark side stuff, and none of them are evil. They're just understanding the Force. It's open to interpretation. I know George Lucas didn't agree with that interpretation, but he sold it, so screw it. So he sold it, so screw it. That's how I would envision that the end of the saga would be the galaxy tries their hardest to blow up the Yuzan Vong for some hope, and the laser just passes through their planet. And the Yuzan Vong are like, okay, let's have some fun. And you're totally scared.
That would be a brilliant trilogy, I think. I think that would be the whole bringing all those characters back in the final movie. That would be like the Star Wars version of Endgame. And
you know how I would advertise it is I would do the No Way Home of it. Is Mark Hamill going to be in the movie? Is Mark Hamill going to be in the movie? Is Hayden Christensen going to be in the movie? Is Ewan McGregor going to be in the movie? Be like, I don't know. There's a leak. Yeah,
I didn't get the call. I didn't get the call.
He's the werewolf in Star Wars. He's the werewolf. That's how I would do it. But we can talk about this forever.
Yeah.
But you guys have been listening to us for a very long time. So
I think before we go, I think we should do an episode dissecting the unused script for the third film in the sequel trilogy, the whole Duel of the Fates script, and the concept art for that. I think there's an opportunity to do a whole episode.
I'm down for that, and we should also do an episode on George Lucas's original sequel trilogy plans. Because the organized crime angle is really interesting. Jedi taking on Sith Mafia instead of Sith Emperors is interesting. I like that. But
yeah. So let us know if you want.
Absolutely,
if you want us to do
that. But with that, this is the Invincibles, guys. Thank you so much for listening to our episodes, for commenting. I have been a bit behind on TikToks. That will finally be up. I promise it will be up. It will be up this Friday. Everything will be up. And most importantly, man, I want to say this personally to Oli, to you, but also to the audience. It's been really fun, I want to say, for the past couple months, the first month planning, second month doing of this episodes of the Invincibles, and it truly brings so much fun and joy to my day. Like today at work, I was like, bro, like I can't wait to talk about Star Wars. Can't wait to talk about all this stuff. And I'm sure I ramble. I'm sure I'm disorganized. I'm sure I ask questions and then completely disregard them and go on another tangent. But it truly is so much fun doing these episodes with you, bro. And it truly is so much fun having you guys listen to us. And I don't have something to recommend when you guys like reading or watching or anything like that. But I just want you guys to, everybody, you, Oli, and everybody else, is do something that you truly enjoy, man. Do it. Do something you truly enjoy and have fun with it. That's what this podcast is. And I love talking about nerd stuff with you, bro. It's so fun.
I enjoy it as well. This is a lot of fun, and I'm very excited about the future conversations we're gonna have on here as well. And it's just a nice outlet to just be
that is true. That is true. But yeah, let us know, guys. We're gonna put on our Instagram bios, our Instagram stories, what topic you guys want for next week. I will say the road to WrestleMania is getting very hot now. It is. We might have to do a wrestling video or wrestling podcast episode next week. Who knows? Road to WrestleMania is getting really hot. Also, a couple of days ago, James Gunn has been announced as the Superman director, and we could focus on the Kryptonian heritage. We can talk about Harry Potter, Hogwarts Legacy. We actually played it, what we actually thought. There's a lot we can talk about. We'll put that in our stories. And yeah, guys, just vote on it. Let us know what you want to listen to, and we'll talk about it, as always. I'm Zan.
I've been Oli.
And we're the Invincibles. You know what? You just keep that. I feel like that's the spirit. I feel like that's the spirit of our podcast. Just keep it. Let's keep it.
Yeah, that's it. That's the spirit.
Thank you once again, guys, for listening.
I'm off to read that.
I'm off to read some Invincible, bro, so I get that. All right. Take care, guys.